Now, when they came, still we found that they are not enough. They are not adequate to teach those lessons or the learners, and therefore, what we also do, you find that we have now to take some teachers from the primary level so that they can assist them. As we know, most of the schools right now, possibly if they have many teachers, they may only be 3. Like my school, I only have three teachers, and looking at the number of subjects that they're supposed to be taught, that is why now you have to take those teachers from the primary level so that they can assist in those areas. Now, when we come to the lack of infrastructure, like we may not be having enough, or the government has not yet built up to now some classes, so we normally use those classes that they used previously when they were in primary, so that they can learn from there. And then since they are in junior school, we expect them to be sitting on lockers. But since up to now we don't have enough funds to buy those lockers, that is why we make them use those basics that they used in the primary section. When it comes to lack of laboratories, that is when now we take them to the nearby schools, secondary schools, so that they can at least learn some of those areas that need some laboratories.
One of the major challenges facing is on human resource. Like as for now, I have 2 grades, grades 7 and 8, with only 3 teachers. And these teachers take specific subject. So you realize that some of the subjects are not catered for.
One big challenge is understaffing, which we have tried to solve it by taking up qualified teachers from the primary level to take up some subjects in the JSS. And in terms of ICT, we tried to provide some tools, make sure they're available, giving the teachers bundles, making sure we maintain those tools so that they'll be able to teach efficiently. This training is very important at this level because we are getting a lot of information that we are not sure of, and it has come at the right time because it's going to make us better, more effective leaders than we were before. And because of the new technology that's coming in, we believe you're going to get stronger and be able to monitor the curriculum implementation well in our institutions.
I appreciate the organizers came in VOB. It's a very wonderful training. It will help me as a leader to become an efficient leader. Because from here I'll go and cascade what I have learned first of all to my teachers and also to my fellow head teachers in my zone. So to me it is a wonderful training.
Training is important, and especially to us school leaders, because we have to lead by example. So in CBC implementation, it is us to lead the other teachers. So we need to get the right knowledge, we need to get the right skills. Even the attitude we had before needs to be changed so that we are able now to impart the right knowledge and skills to the teachers. When we acquire this knowledge also, it will help us to know what the approaches we are going to use to ensure that now the program succeeds, because definitely it has to succeed. So we need to assist the teachers. We also need to assist the parents, because it is us they rely on. In most cases, they tell us it is you to tell us, it is you to guide us on what we are supposed to do as parents. So we need to get the right knowledge, skills, and also change of attitude.
I feel very strongly that these trainings, for example, the one we have with you, the increase program, is making us be very innovative. It is going to address my weaknesses. Really passionate on the ICT aspect because we have realized that Kenya is on the 21st century skills, and our learners need also to have these skills.
So we want to focus on digital literacy for learning. So here, the key word here that as we discuss this is for learning. Because if you look at ESL, we are focusing on school leadership for effective teaching, and so you as a head, as a leader of that particular school, how effective are you when it comes to digital literacy? And if you are effective enough in that school, how effective are your teachers? Because if you are the teacher number one, you are the driver of the whole school. So if it finds that, like Martin was talking about having a feature phone, Mulika Mwizi. How many of us have got Mulika Mwizi? Katalia too? Two, eh? You still have them. How many of us, you can find the city has said information on the wall, alafu nasema siku nimefungua data. Oh, ama moto ilikuwa imeisha. And no, you are the CEO of that. Na hauna nini? Hauna data. You know, I put a very different question. Supposing you are in a vehicle where in Nairobi, or even forgets to put fuel in the vehicle. After imeisha, na ni saa 9 ya usiku. Unasema nini? Eh? Happen, isn't it? Now, if you are the head of school, hauna data, hauna view, hauna moto kwa simu.
Because, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why we are giving you this is because we want you to go and help your teachers to interpret. Up to now, so many teachers who have challenges in the interpretation of curriculum design. As we say, if they are not able to interpret the curriculum designs, they will have the wrong schemes of work. They will have the wrong lessons. They will have the wrong lessons. You know, everything will just be a mess, isn't it? So the reason why we want you to know all these things is because we want you to those teachers as they implement learning areas that you're teaching, isn't it? So how many professional documents are we looking at? Some of those approaches that we have been told to adopt are learner-centered. We are getting away from a teacher-centered lesson to a learner-centered lesson.
Ile kitu yenye nafanya tunaongea mambo mingi ni CBC implementation. Hii story tunapiga yote hii suite tunaitisha hii, hiyo notebook is focusing on how we can implement the competence-based curriculum. Then we went further and said there's another unit, then you call unit what? 3. About mpaka chini. How to make this child walk? Aidha utamweka karibu na ukuta, asimamie kwa ukuta kwanza, si ndio? Akishazoea kusimama, unashika yeye mkono, mnatembea. Anaona utamu wa kutembea. No, as you walk support through putting the hand or even holding something good na amesimama, unapokuja uchukue, si ndio? They moves toward that direction. So this child do well. Now, how do we support this child to be able to walk? Support programs around that particular child. That is basically what. Now, you have area. It seems we have a problem because the other things are just enablers. What you're doing from now, just enablers to make us be effective. Hello? So we want to appreciate that, but I'm still just worried. This question on when we came here first. Why do you think you came here when you were invited? Because when you go back, they'll ask you, ulienda kufanya? What was it? It's a bad question. You know, it's a bad one. But why do you are invited? Why do you think you are invited and not your neighbor? Kuna wale wanatamani ungekuwa ni hao ndio wamekuja. Sasa ile mlienda kwa mkutano jana, kaambia sisi tuko na ingine huko. And some of you also gave leakage M vitamin, si ndio? Nasema huko M vitamin ni mzuri bwana. Unajua bila pesa wewe si mtu sasa zingine pesa. When you are empowered, it's better. So, what made you come? Was it that M vitamin? That's just an enabler, isn't it? What made us come? Am I talking to you? Niongeke gusi. Ama Kijaluo, ama Kiluya. My brother, what brought you? Yes? Being the best to implement CBC. Do you have any leader who is not the best? If you were moved in Nyamira, if you ask every head teacher in a school, will they tell you whether they're the best or the worst? Will they say I'm the worst head teacher? No, I'm the best. Even if the school is last, I'm the best what?
As you see, most of the managers were advanced in age. So we are trying to catch up with the technology, and we have really tried. So when it comes to learning also, there are applications that we are going to use. There is a way we are going to navigate now to get to our modules.
The school leaders, especially some of them, they are not, or they don't have the skills in ICT, especially when we see they go out, they go to cyber cafe where most of the documents or most of the secret documents are placed in cybers, which is not good. But I think after this training, the teachers will be more equipped with skills and techniques on how to handle ICT, as most of them, they are not computer compliance. People have not been out to go and take because they believe they'll be separated from family or something like that, so they are shying away from taking leadership roles.
Good morning. Good morning. Iko sawa, kama mmoja ameamini. Okay, good morning.
Good morning too, sir.
So we want to begin our today's session.
Good morning
Because
too from Nandi.
Karibu. We are going to begin at exactly 9:30. And since now it is already 9:30, would request one of us to lead us in a word of prayer. A frontier to lead us now. Word of prayer. Anybody willing to lead us in a word of prayer? David, Nicholas.
No, brother.
Okay, go on. Caroline.
Let us pray. Let us believe in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Almighty God, we thank you for the gift of life. We thank you for the love and care that you have given us. We thank you for this time that we have come for our section. For Almighty God, for the facilitated for the participants who have not joined us. We pray that they may be able to join us. We pray also that we may be able to gain more knowledge so that we become leaders. We pray this trusting and believing in Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you, Madam Caroline, for leading us in a word of prayer. And kindly reach out to your colleagues, because I can see we are around.
Certificate, diploma, degree, na kinyako postgraduate ya cooperative and
We allowed 17 of us. Yesterday we were around 31. So kindly reach out to your friends who have not joined and tell them the session have begun. And yesterday I introduced to you the team that led us through the session. But today we are privileged to have another staff who have joined us, and I would like him to say hi to you. I would like to welcome Mr. Noam.
Good morning. Let me turn on my camera. Hi, hello everybody. Good morning. My name is Noam Janssens. I'm from VVUB, and we are a partner of Kemi, and I'm joining the session this morning. So looking forward to hear your experiences with Unit 6 today. And I'll be coming back for the closing ceremony to represent VVUB. Thank you, Karimi.
Thank you, Mr. Noam, for being with us, and hope you'll be with us throughout the session. So yesterday we took you through the first two units that we had planned to do the review. That is Unit 5 and Unit 6, and I would like to hear from you. One person in 2 minutes tell us what Unit 2, what Unit 4 was all about. One person, what we did yesterday. Joshua. Or if you can't talk, you can write in your chat folder, but I would like to hear from Joshua. We dealt with review of Unit 4. What was it all about? Or what was your take home? You can have Imeni, Judith, or any one of you. Your mic are on.
Yes.
Imeni, go on.
Yes, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Karim and the team.
Good morning.
Yesterday we on Unity 4, we looked at effective resource management, and we dealt with the issues of accounting documents that are available in our schools. Then I remember we went to our rooms and we had the questions that we discussed. We had the questions on group 1, which discussed identifying various activities to be undertaken by the school leader in preparation of a project that was in the question. And also group 2 looked at procurement procedures that are available in a school while undertaking that project. And then in group 3 also looked at identifying possible unethical practices that are likely to occur while undertaking that project. And in group 4, also identify the possible risk that can occur while undertaking that project. Then groups went to their rooms and, of course, made their discussions, and later on, we made our deliberations to the all plenary. And I am sure those are the key issues that were done on Unity 4. We also looked at Unity 5, but Karim, you haven't required me to deal with the Unit 5,
yes.
only Unity 4.
Yes, I wanted you to deal with Unit 4 because I wanted somebody else. Thank you, Imeni, for that brief recap on what we did under Unit 4 on effective resource management. I want somebody else to tell us. We also reviewed Unit 5. Somebody to tell us what you reviewed and what was your take home concerning Unit 5. So thank you, Imeni. Somebody else, preferably from Nandi County. Nandi County. What did we learn on Unit 5? And the career. Or Cecilia.
Yes, sir.
Go on. Can you tell us briefly on what we learned, what Unit 5 entailed, and what your take home?
Yes.
I'm saying yesterday we reviewed Unit 5. I hope you are getting me. What was it all about, and what was your take home?
I remember we went through Unit 4 yesterday, review of Unit 4.
What about Unit 5?
Also, and Unit 5.
What was Unit 5 all about?
About procurement.
Okay, Madam Cecilia, procurement was covered in Unit 4. Let me hear from Caroline. Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
So Unit 5, we learned about the learner staff welfare, where we dealt with the psychological support for learners and also the staff. And I think there's so much that I learned. We also went into our groups where we had discussions that we had, the psychological challenges, the interventions that we can have also, and so much that I learned that there are so many things that we can do in our schools so that we can bring the wellness of our learners, especially creating a good environment for the learners and the staff, so that we can be able to have good learners environment, and academically they'll also do well. So we need also to put things like clear policies, awareness, ensuring that there is we allocate budget, especially to do with guiding and counseling. We make sure that we also talk about mental health, where is a concern that we need to also look at it. We also look at the key components that are in school, psychosocial, which we talked and discussed in our groups. And I think I learned so much, especially on how best I can handle learners and staff in my school. That is what I learned.
Thank you very much, Caroline, for that elaborate recap on what we ran, especially on Unit 5. And if you can remember, especially let me take you back to Unit 4. The Group 2, we discussed about I just want to refer to procurement cycle, because that is one area that when you come to your school, you usually find problem. Who can briefly tell us what we discussed about the procurement cycle or the procurement procedure? Because that is one area that we have realized that most of the school have an issue to do with. Briefly, who can remember what we learned about the procurement procedure?
Yes, Mana Karemi.
Yes.
Yes, please. And because I was in too, I remember we had to describe procurement procedures. The school leader shall explain before undertaking that project. And I remember we learned that there should be a budget first of all, and the budget should be approved. And there should be a procurement plan, which also should be approved. And then from there, we discussed the issue of advertising tenders, and where the tenders should be. And then, of course, when you advertise, you receive the bids. And after that, you evaluate those tenders, and then you award the tender. Then there was an issue of contract signing and contract management. I think that's all I captured about that procurement matter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Imen. And that is an indication that you are participating well in your group, and even for remembering the procurement procedures that you are supposed to do. I was just curious about this section. You are correct, apart from the fact that after receiving the bids, you open them, you evaluate them, then you do the award notification. Can you remember? Then before you sign the contract, you wait for 14 days, what we call the appeal window. Right? If anybody is aggrieved, may appeal, and then if there is no appeal, you sign the contract, and eventually the procurement will end with what you have purchased by disposing. So thank you very much. I was just curious about that section. Now, let us go to the business of the day. And today we are going to review Unit 6. I don't know whether there is anybody who can remember what Unit 6 entails, those who are through with the course.
Unit
All right.
Yeah, in institutional governance.
Yeah, institutional governance. And even before we delve into institutional governance, is there anybody who can now that you have gone through the unit, is there anybody who can briefly tell us what did we learn on institutional governance during your self-paced? Penina. Now, who can briefly tell us what was Unit 6 institutional governance was all about? Caroline.
I'm being too much. I'm sorry about that.
Thank you.
Maybe I can say a brief that institutional governance talks about the policies that we have put in place, our expectations that we are supposed to put in place in our schools, and how we are governing our schools, especially our relationship to the stakeholders. What are the things that we are doing to put the best in our schools to make it better? So that is how I found when I went through the notes, and I think it has more to do with that, but mostly how to govern the schools institution.
Thank you, Abrus. Mr. Abrus. Now, thank you very much, Madam Caroline, for that, for telling us who else. Teresia, you had this up.
Okay, for me, what I found about institutional governance is mainly how to ensure quality, how to ensure that there's quality work in terms of learning the processes, and also evaluating the whole learning process and the whole governance process in the school. Thank you.
So you're talking about governance and IBQA. Thank you, Madam Teresia. Is there anything else somebody would like to add that you learned in Unit 6? Remember, we are reviewing, assuming you have done all the work. So that is our expectation. We review what you have already learned. What else do you learn? You know, and this one is an indication that you went through the note you learned and you're able to apply the skills in your school. Anybody else would like to tell us something extra that you learned on units, institutional governance? So if there is nobody else, Unit 6 was on institutional governance, and these are the areas that we covered under institutional governance. And the first person who talked about, he talked about the policy, which is true. We discussed the policy that govern, that are legal and policy framework that govern the junior schools. Also, there was to do with leadership competencies for management of junior schools. Also, on the same unit, there was a IBQ, institutional-based quality assurance, and how to ensure that they were effectively managing every aspect of your school. Then there was infrastructure and school facilities, monitoring, evaluation, and reporting of junior school, and good governance practices. So those are the areas that that was covered in Unit 6. So those who read the note, it was clear that they were able to understand those areas. Now, I want you to do a very simple activity here. So in your chat box, I want you to identify the main highlight of junior school implementation guidelines. We talked about the junior school implementation guidelines, and you have gone through them. What are the main highlights? You use your chat box and tell us what are the main highlights of junior school implementation guidelines. At one, I'm going to give you 3 minutes. Highlight of junior school implementation guidelines. Now that you are the head of junior school, you are supposed to have those guidelines in your fingertips. So those are the guidelines that are guiding the way you are managing the junior schools. I'm still waiting for the response. Thank you, Imeni. You have said that they deal with the establishment of junior school committee. Caroline Aman, International National and Legal Framework. There are so many provisions in junior school guidelines. Those who have led them, and I expect each and every one of you to have led the guidelines. You are the head of the institution. That is a junior school. Andre, Imeni, and Caroline so far have responded. Abrus, form subcommittee, open junior school accounts. Don't know whether you mean the junior school account and their signatories. Anything else that is contained in the implementation guidelines? Only the three, the junior school committee, international, national and legal framework, and then subcommittee, open junior school account. What else? So, Amole, we allowed 25 of us, and only the 3 people are responding. And we are assuming you have led this unit. At the end, so you are supposed to have gone through the guidelines. Teresia, thank you. Establishment of protocol for resource sharing, such as sharing laboratories. Caroline, subject allocation and timetabling. Many admission of students based on online portal. And Teresia needs assessment. So thank you very much for those who have responded. And the Penina establishment and maintaining of partnership student welfare. But those who are able to go through the guidelines, there are various provisions like domiciling and transition. That is where the junior school should be domiciled. It was contained in the guideline. Governance and leadership, that is the establishment of the junior school committee to play the oversight role. Also curriculum implementation. Somebody talked about the subject. Also, I think it is Penina who talked about the assessment, on how the assessment will be done. That is school-based, SBA and CBA. Also, the IBQA is also contained in the guideline. Infrastructure and resource sharing, that one was mentioned. Teaching and non-teaching staff, and welfare, finance management, and policy and legal framework. There's somebody who talked about the policy and legal framework. So that is an indication some of you are able to go through the guideline. As a head of institution, make sure that you familiarize yourself with those guidelines, although they are likely to change, but for the time being, those are the guidelines that we are using to be conversant with those guidelines as a head of institution. So that is what we were expecting from you. Now, now we are going to go to our breakout room again. And I urge you, please don't repeat the scenarios that we found yesterday, whereby after sending you to the breakout room, only 2 people are active. We are going to have 5 breakout rooms, whereby we are going to have allowed 5 participants per group. We expect each and every one of you to participate. One, by identifying the chairperson and also a secretary. The chairperson is to moderate the discussion, and the secretary is to record the deliberation. Secretary is to record the deliberation, and don't waste time. Immediately you are sent to the group, you begin immediately. So the discussion will last exactly 15 minutes. So immediately you are sent to your breakout room, identify the chairperson, the secretary, and begin the discussion. That is the question. I hope you have read the question. It has put in the, I think it will be put in the chat forum in each breakout room, whereby it is on IBQA, and we are going to discuss about the 5 dimensions: the leadership and management, curriculum, physical facilities, and welfare and community. So group 1, all these will be discussed per group. Group 1 will deal with leadership. Group 2, curriculum and organization and implementation. Group 3, physical. Group 4, and welfare, and group 5, community involvement. So depending on the group you are going to find yourself, note the dimension you are going to discuss. In your assignment, profile the implementation and strategies you have put in place in your school. This one is not academic, what you have done in your school. If it is in leadership, what have you done? Curriculum, the same. Physical facilities, the same.
So welcome back to the plenary participants, and it's our hope that each of the teams has been able to look into the dimension that has been that had been allocated to them in terms of the strategy that they are using to implement those dimensions in the institutions. So at this point in time, we'd like to get feedback from each of the teams based on what you discussed in the breakout rooms. And we are going to start with group 1. Group 1 was dealing with leadership and management. And from group 1, we'd like to hear the strategies that they come up with in terms of how they're implementing that particular dimension on leadership and management at school level. So I want to welcome the Secretary Group 1 to lead us in giving us the feedback from that particular group. Group 1.
Yes, I'm Caroline Amani, Group 1.
Secretary.
Karibu sana, Caroline.
Yes, the question was provide the implementation strategies you have put in place in your school involving leadership and management. Point number 1, we have delegation of responsibilities through departments that run school activities. These departments include Examination Council, Health and Sanitation Department, Lunch Program Department, ICT Department, Guidance and Counseling, among others. Point number 2, we have administrative duties which have been delegated from the lowest level, starting with the class teachers. They are administrators, number 1. And then we have teachers on duty. Then we have the senior teachers, the deputy head teachers, and then finally the school head of institution. Another thing, we have a school charter showing governance in school, and also that one helps the school run through teachers who have been delegated various responsibilities. And then we have also monitoring and evaluation to ensure that whatever has been delegated to the various department and individual teachers is monitored and evaluation done, and if possible, intervention on where things have not, duties have not been carried out well, interventions are done accordingly. Also, the deputy head teachers assist in administration work and curriculum implementation, including observation of teachers and keeping records of the same, checking if lessons have been attended to, and also giving reports to the head of institution. That is all we had. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. Do you have any member of that group who would like to perhaps add some, perhaps some information that Caroline may have left out, leadership and management? Seemingly, we do not have any hand up. And thank you so much, Caroline and team, for that feedback from Group 1 concerning the strategies that, of course, you deem fit for implementing leadership and management. And perhaps what I would like to point out and to remind all of us, even as we review this unit, is that it's also good to look at the this from a wider perspective, perhaps to identify the leadership of the institution that spans from, of course, the board of management, the parent association. You also look at now the head of, you as the head of the institution, and of course now your assistants in leadership and management, which includes now the heads of departments, the senior teachers, and even the leadership of the students. And therefore, from this, you're able to look at what now activities, what strategies can we put in place under this bigger umbrella of the leadership of the school to ensure that, of course, now leadership and management, as I mentioned, of course, is of course, executed. And you realize that when you look at it from this wider perspective, then you'll look at some of the strategies that, of course, are directly executed by the bigger governing body like the BOM, which ideally must ensure that the school is validly registered. And of course, through the BOM, they execute this strategy by ensuring that, of course, the school as an entity that is a government entity meets all the legal and regulatory requirements for operation, including, of course, what we call now the timely renewal of registration and compliance with the MOE guidelines. Ideally, you've mentioned about administrative support by perhaps now the teachers and the HOIs. And remember now, as the head of the institution, you are responsible for executing strategies that will, of course, revolve around the day-to-day administrative functions. You ensure that, of course, you facilitate the allocation of resources, you oversee staff appointments, and through the BOM, and ensure that, of course, there are smooth operational processes. And at the bigger umbrella still of the BOM and your leadership as well, you also ensure that, of course, you offer guidance in terms of strategy. You ensure there is the development of the school motto, the vision, the mission, core values, and even strategic, of course, objectives and plans. And from where now we are able now to narrow down to getting now the annual plans for the school, up to and including, of course, now the smaller plans, like even what we've looked at in Unit 4, things like now operational plans like the procurement plans and all that kind of stuff. So we are also required to execute strategies that revolve around the identification and the prioritization of key strategic objectives that will actually drive the institution, of course, to achieve its broader objectives within the setup of the school. So ideally, the strategies will run through offering strategic direction, resource allocation, supervision, which you have rightly put across, collaboration and communication even to the larger school community, and ensuring that generally the school runs as an entity within the legal and regulatory environment of the Ministry of Education. So I want to appreciate that team and to say that, of course, I appreciate that you've been able to single out the strategies from within the school. However, the intention for this dimension is also to ensure that we look at also this particular dimension from a wider scope or with a wider lens, so that we don't also lose out some of the key stakeholders under the leadership of the school. So I'd like to invite my colleague perhaps to moderate group 2 feedback, which is on curriculum and organization. Bwana Elijah, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Kisil, for taking us through the first dimension. I would request the Secretary Group 2 to give us the feedback on curriculum organization and implementation. Secretary Group 2.
Okay, good morning once again, everybody. My name is Teresia Kaberia. I'm the Secretary Group 2. Our task was on looking at the strategies that we have put in place in our schools concerning curriculum organization and implementation. So to begin with, we divided it into 2 in terms of there is what we have done concerning curriculum organization and curriculum implementation, and on the whole thing as a whole. So we begin with the establishment of a curriculum support office in the school, which will oversee the issue of organization and implementation of the curriculum. And this one will be done by the head of the institutions and the deputies, and the curriculum support office is basically one that will be answerable to the school so that they can oversee the implementation of the curriculum to assist the head of the institution, because the head of the institution may have so many other things and may need somebody to put an eye on some things. So now the next strategy is the curriculum mapping, whereby the curriculum support office is supposed to ensure that they familiarize themselves with whatever is required of whatever is required in the curriculum implementations, the learning areas, the strands, and what is actually basically supposed to be learned by the learners. And then they will also have follow-up meetings with the heads of the institution and the teachers so that they can bring them up to date. And then also we have the same office, we have to look at the retooling of teachers, both by the retooling that is done by the TSC, so that even as the new changes are brought in, as the new areas of the curriculum come in, the teachers will be in the know. But we also think that we cannot only just depend on the retooling by the TSC, because sometimes not all teachers will attend. So this support office will encourage the teachers that are able to attend the training to come back and have sessions with the other teachers in the school, so that what is learned at the maybe sub-county retooling can be brought back into the school. And it's not just the few who go there to represent the school who benefit, but the whole school is put in the know-how. And then also another thing we realize is that we need to have stakeholder engagement in the curriculum implementation. We realize, like right now, when we have grade 9, there have been complaints by parents that they don't understand what is being done. They don't understand how the schools are being are being chosen. They don't understand how the transition process will take place. So we realize that in implementing and in organizing this curriculum, we need to have to sensitize parents through just meetings simply scheduled for curriculum sensitization, not to discuss any issues of building classes, but just to give them the knowledge on what we are doing in terms of implementing this curriculum, and also to give them feedback, timely feedback, and then also to allow them to ask us questions. And then also in terms of this stakeholder engagement, we also realize that we need to collaborate with the education officers, especially the CSOs in our sub-counties, so that they can support and enable us to be compliant with the national curriculum reforms. And then also in the same thing, in the same area of organizing, we have to ensure collaborative teaching, whereby if one of the teachers is very good at a specific area, let's say in chemistry, there's an aspect, probably chemical reactions, and another one on this other side of chemistry, we can have the two teachers actually do some form of collaborative teaching. And then also now in terms of implementation, we develop a master timetable to ensure that the time allocation for all learning areas is as is stipulated by the ministry and KICD guidelines. And then we also strive to ensure learner-centered approaches, and then also ensure that we are in touch with the changes that are taking place in the curriculum. For example, when we had rationalization, we realized that some schools were left behind when some subjects were rationalized. So it is to ensure that this committee is to ensure that the school stays up to date. We ensure that we are able to get the curriculum designs from the KICD, the ones that are coming out online, as fast as possible, so that this is also translates down to the school. And then the last part in implementation is evaluation. We need to put in strategies to evaluate the implementation of the curriculum, and this we do through assessments and also through feedback from students. And also in evaluating, we conduct internal curriculum mapping so that we are able to ensure that there is alignment across grades and subjects, that whatever is supposed to be done at this grade is done. And then also in evaluation, now the last part is that after evaluation, we give recommendations for further improvements and on what we can do to better the experience of implementing the curriculum. I think that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That I'd like to appreciate that group for that elaborate and in-depth analysis of that dimension. You have broadly talked about what it entails and the curriculum organization and implementation. Thank you, Group 2. The only few points I would like to add. One is that as we talk about the organization and implementation, we are supposed to ensure that there are enough resources to support the implementation of the curriculum. That is adequate resources. That means you need to adequately allocate resources for this area because this is the core business of any institution, curriculum, organization, and implementation. If you fail in this, then everything else you'll have failed. So even if you have very good infrastructure, but you are not implementing curriculum as it's required, it means you will not be able to acquire, the learner will not be able to acquire the learning outcome. So make sure that the adequate resources in terms of books, in terms of laboratory equipment are provided in your institution. You have talked about the capacity building of teachers, and you have given a very good model whereby teachers go for training and then they come back and train the teachers who did not participate in training, like the ongoing, the CBC, that will be taking place the next 2 weeks. Those who are going to participate, that is a senior school now, they're expected to come back and train those who will not have participated. You have talked about monitoring to ensure that everything is done as planned. That is very good, it's very important. But also ensure that as you implement curriculum, make sure that it is inclusive. You adapt it to meet the need of those learners who may have special needs, especially when you are purchasing the resources. Identify the learners who may have challenges in terms of vision, in terms of hearing, in terms of physical disability, so that the resources meet their expectation. And also make sure that in the current, we have been talking about lack of enough capitation in our school. Make sure that you're innovative enough. You don't have to buy everything in terms of teaching aids. You can be innovative and come up with teaching aids that are reusable for sustainability. Don't use resources that you are going to use once and then you dispose them, but use resources you are likely to reuse them severally. You talked about strengthening curriculum management. When you talk about committee, that is very good. And we also talk about collaboration, that is a plus. And also, you also talked about community engagement, which is very important because, especially when you talk about the empowering the parent. So thank you very much, Group 2, for that wonderful work. Thanks to Mr. Kisiru. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Elijah, for moderating that dimension. And then I welcome Group 3 to give their feedback. Group 3, Secretary kindly on physical facilities and infrastructure.
So I am Anne Kemei.
Welcome, Anne.
Group 3 on physical facilities and infrastructure and how it is implemented. So the first one, we talked about the classrooms. We have the laboratories, that is the science lab and the computer lab. We have the libraries, playground, dormitories, toilets. We have the stores and the kitchen. Then how do we implement this? About the classrooms, there were extra classroom from the primary session and we used. Also there was, the government built some classes and the learners, the junior school learners use the classrooms, the new ones also. So in this classroom also we have the lockers where the learners use because they are new, they have no lockers. So we had to purchase some lockers, and purchasing this using the capitation, we have to follow the procurement act. Also about the labs, most of the school had no laboratories, so most of them modified classroom and also use the mobile labs. Also the computer labs, we modified, we had to acquire from donors. Some schools got donors, acquired some computers, 5 or even 3, and that is what they are using up to now. For the libraries also, we have to extend or build another library, because in junior schools we have so many books and should be kept well. About the playground, as you know that most of the schools, they don't have enough land. So we use the same playground for primary and junior. And as you know, the games for primary and junior are done differently. So we have to have a schedule. Also in classrooms, we have to make timetables whereby they can't meet in the field. Every class have its own time to go to the field. Also, schools which are day and boarding are to construct dormitories. And before forgetting about this construction of classroom and dormitories, there should be ramps so that it is inclusive for those who have disabilities. Also toilets, there was to add toilets because of the number of learners which raised. Also there's water and sanitation. They should, because the learners are more, there should be clean water in the combo and enough for the learners. Another one, maybe also because of the staff which grown, we add field offices and also add some lockers and chairs for the new teachers so that they can be comfortable doing their work. And also in this building, these classrooms and libraries, there should be lighting and ventilation so that the learners can have a good environment. So we also talked about this, maybe there are buildings or facilities which have to be disposed. And this one, you say that we should follow the Procurement Act when disposing the same. I think our chair can add something. That's what I have.
Thank you, Han. So the chair for group 3, Han suggests that you had some points. Do you have anything to add?
Maybe what I can just add concerning the classrooms. The classrooms constructed in schools are also safety compliant. The doors are opening outwards. The windows are also opening outwards, at least in case of an emergency.
Thank you for that feedback, and thank you, group 3, led by the chair and Anne, for that insightful discussion on how we can execute some strategies to ensure that this dimension of physical facilities and infrastructure is well implemented in our schools. And just to mention that, of course, I want to agree with the team that, of course, we must ensure adequacy, safety, and accessibility of the school facilities. And that has actually come up last through the chair. And perhaps what I could add to this is that you must also oversee the repair and maintenance of school buildings and equipment. And you also manage the disposal of obsolete equipment, because this will ensure that there is efficiency in operations of the school, ensuring cleanliness and orderliness within the school environment as well, and compliance with registration and planning regulations, because this is very key when we are dealing with physical facilities and infrastructure. At the same time, it's also important perhaps to mention here that it's important to implement safety standards, and safety standards are always outlined in national policies. We have actually a safety manual for schools, and at the same time, it's important to note that when we are coming up with physical facilities and infrastructure in our institutions of learning, it's good to facilitate disability-friendly access through proper landscaping and infrastructure adjustments to ensure that, of course, we are inclusive enough to cater for different backgrounds in terms of our learners and in terms of our staff as well. Perhaps also to include that we need to collaborate with relevant government agencies like forestry departments, for environmental greening initiatives, which is also an initiative of the government of the Republic of Kenya, as well as ensuring that at the school level, as school leaders, you provide essential administration offices and learning facilities. You've rightly, of course, mentioned the laboratories, the STEM laboratories, and even special rooms, and maintenance of proper water and sanitation facilities that actually meets the prescribed student ratios, because sanitation facilities within, of course, learning institutions are actually have actually prescribed ratios. In the case of girls, of course, we have one latrine being used by 25, and in the case of boys, one latrine being used by 30 boys. So we must use the prescribed ratios when we are also developing infrastructure and physical facilities for use by our learners and relevant stakeholders. Then most importantly, it is ensure that we have hygiene and safety standards that are well, of course, that meet the threshold of the standards that are set. And to ensure this, we need to conduct regular water testing and treatment of the water that we are using, of course, in our institutions, just to ensure that, of course, our learners, our staff are also consuming, of course, water that is hygienic, that is clean, and that is safe. So thank you very much for that feedback. Group 3, I'd like to invite my colleague also to lead us in the feedback for learner welfare. That is Group 4. Over to you, Elijah, to lead us on learner welfare and community learner welfare as a dimension.
So thank you very much, Mr. Kisiru. And the group number 4, I'm learning that you are dealing with both learner welfare and community involvement. So I will request the secretary to give us the feedback for both the learners welfare and community involvement.
Good morning, colleagues. My name is Joyce Korir, Secretary for Group 4. We were looking at the implementation of learners' welfare and community involvement in our schools. So we were able to come up with the following learners' welfare programs that we have in our school. The first one was feeding program. We have guiding and counseling. Also have co-curricular activities. We have healthy and nutrition, and we have good infrastructure. So I'm going to explain. So with the first one, which is the feeding program, we have implemented that one in our schools, as we all know that feeding program plays a crucial role in enhancing learners' concentration, participation, and academic performance. So in our schools, we have this program. It ensures that learners get nutritious meals. We know we have learners from different backgrounds, and if not those different backgrounds, these learners need to learn in class. We know for those who are in grade 7 up to 9, their learning time, their span, we have 40 minutes. For those learners to be in class up to 1 p.m., they need something in their stomachs. And that's why we have learners feeding programs in our schools. And then we have guiding and counseling. We have implemented guiding and counseling. This one is a vital part of learner support program, especially learners who are in adolescent stage. This one has to support learners' emotional, psychological, social, and moral development. And how do we do it in our schools? In our schools, we have teachers who have been trained to handle guiding and counseling. And also, when they're guiding these learners, they ensure there is confidentiality, and they also offer mentorship programs, and also they do peer counseling. Then another one, we have co-curricular activities in our schools. These co-curricular activities We encourage learners, as teachers, we encourage learners to participate in these co-curricular activities like games and sports for their well-being. We have drama, we also have music. So as we do this one, these learners develop their abilities. They're also developing their careers, they're building their careers, future careers. Then also we talk about health. And most of us, we have implemented these programs in our schools. We collaborate with the county governments, allowing them to come to our schools to vaccinate learners through the CPGs, community health, CHPs, community health promoters. Also, we have deworming programs. We allow them to come and deworm the learners. And then the last one, we had infrastructure. So for us to have a conducive environment in school, we need to have a good infrastructure, good classes that are conducive for learning. Like the class should be ventilated. We've done that in our schools. And then community, we were looking at community involvement, how we involve the community. So one, it was we can invite parents through meetings in our school. Maybe we have some issues in school, or maybe we have some things in school. We invited them, we involve them in anything that we do in school. Then also, we do have community learning service, where we can take our learners to the market in the community, maybe, or also they can visit those who are sick in the community, the elderly in the community. As they go there, they are taking what they've learned in class to the community. They go and learn it outside. And then also, we can involve the community by sharing facilities. Maybe the community can come to our schools. The community can come to our schools and share and borrow some facilities. We can go out to the community and borrow some facilities to come and use it in schools. Then also, there's another one, we can involve the community to come and talk to the learners. And who is this community? We can have the alumni, we can have the parents, we can have the church coming to the school, come to talk about to the learners about, maybe it can be career talks, it can be spiritual guidance. Then also, we can have income generating activities in our school. We can plant some crops, then sell it to the community. And that is one way in which we involve the community in school activities. Then also we have voluntary programs where we can plant trees in our schools. We involve the community, the administration, that is we can have the chief, we can have the county government helping us to plant trees in school. Then also we can involve the community. Maybe some activities like fundraising, the community can be involved to support the school financially, or maybe to give the school material support. I think that is the end for group 4.
So thank you very much, Group 4 and Group 5. You are both Group 4 and Group 5. And I kindly appreciate Group 4. They had only 2 areas. That is on learner welfare and community involvement. And they have well exhausted what is expected of us when it comes to learner welfare. Especially, they have given an explanation on issues to do with the feeding program, whereby as a head of institution, you are supposed to ensure that there is provision of meals in your school, and also the learners and staff are able to access medical facilities. And I'm happy that the group have talked about the immunization, vaccination, and deworming in collaboration with the health facilities that are around. Also, they talked about psychosocial support when they talked about guidance and counseling, especially considering the group of learners in their age group, junior school, they had rate. They also talked about infrastructure, that is safe and inclusive learning environment. Infrastructure should be safe, the playground should be safe. And Also, they talked about co-curricular activities, that is drama and music. That one will ensure holistic development through co-curricular activities. And another area that I did not hear from them under Group 4 is how the school track the student attendance, how they ensure that there is retention, and to ensure that the academic progress, so that in case of anything, they are able to do early intervention. For learner welfare should take care of the learners in such manner, that is, you track the attendance, you also retention, and ensure that academic progression is tracked, and you are able to do the intervention where necessary. Then the other area that they were supposed to handle is on community involvement, and we were able to point out everything, whereby you talked about community service learning, which is part of the learning areas in the competency-based education, whereby the learners are supposed to learn from the activities that they undertake in the community service learning. It is not just about planting trees and sweeping. The teacher is supposed to organize a lesson, whereby the lesson should be learned within the community. So community service learning, it is learning within the community, and also to motivate the idea that after this learning, the learners will go back and serve the community. Whether you are a doctor or you are an engineer, you still go back and serve the community. And also they talked about sharing of resources. That is key, especially if you have a hall you can share with the community, even if they have a social function. Outreach initiative to increase school attendance. You have talked about voluntary program like tree planting, encouraging community to participate in fundraising, coming up with IGA and sell resources to school, and also calling the parent or other expert within the community to come and talk to the parent. That was a very good discussion, and it is. But I would like to urge you, once in a while, at least one per year, call the parent and also share the progress report. So thank you very much, that group, for giving the input for both learning welfare and community involvement. And now at that point, we are through with our plenary session, whereby we have been able to exhaust the 5 areas, and now I would like to welcome Mr. Kisiru to do the remaining part.
Yeah, perhaps before we even thank you, Elijah. Thank you, Elijah. Perhaps before we even look at the extended learning activity, I would like to appreciate the great effort that we've put into that particular discussion, and to say that for us to operationalize actually all those strategies that we've put up across in our discussions, it's very important for you to note that the leadership of the school, you are at the core of ensuring that this is actually executed, and therefore our appeal, even as we wind up on this, is to ensure that for you as leadership, you appoint high BQA action teams for each of the dimension. You organize training on institutional self-assessment, ensure you allocate enough resources for effective implementation of these dimensions. At the same time, we are called upon to foster a conducive working environment for both teaching and non-teaching or support staff. Then this is also to be extended to the stakeholders. We must ensure there is collaboration with the relevant stakeholders. And through this, we will be able now to really actualize the strategies that we've just discussed in our 5 groups. Otherwise, I want also to join my colleague in appreciating all of us in actually very insightful discussions on those dimensions. So at this point in time, we were required as participants to look at some extended learning activity. Yesterday, we sought some feedback on the level to which you've been able to actualize your portfolio assignments or tasks. we're still calling upon that you still fast track that. And for this particular unit, you've been requested to develop a new portfolio that demonstrates leadership in promoting effective institutional governance through evidence of implemented policies, strategies, and initiatives, ensuring accountability, transparency, and sustainable management. So it's our hope that you are working on this and that you'll be able to complete this in time. So for you to be able to, of course, work out this assignment as requested, you are being guided to ensure that your portfolio tasks are not limited to actually what we've given you. We've even given you actually a guideline on how to execute these. You ensure that you talk about the governance structures, resource management, of course, resource utilization and management, resource allocation, utilization and management, stakeholders engagement, policy implementation and monitoring, accountability and transparency, training and capacity building, and governance outcomes. So we would like you to really be focused even as you execute this task, so that you actually are talking about what we've given you as what we like to see as evidence. Your artifacts must really work or be actually linked to that. So you're also required to follow the procedure. Yesterday we did a refresher on how you upload the artifacts. And of course, here we would like you to ensure that they are clearly labeled, well explained. And of course, we talked about the heart of reflecting. So you must ensure that they are well reflected and they should be accurately represented through the various photographs that should be able to share. So I think that's just a reminder of what is expected of us. And of course, this is an example of what is expected, that you talk about the governance area, the description, and then of course examples of the artifacts. So we've clearly given you insights on how best you can really work out these assignments, so that it really doesn't be a big issue as you work out them. So this is a clear example of how we expect you to work out actually that particular portfolio task. And just like we gave you an example yesterday, this is still another perfect example. Now you are required to execute this. And borrowing from this, it's a hope that you are able to really come up with some well thought out tasks that, of course, are clearly reflected upon. And kindly, in case you have any challenges on uploading these artifacts in the blog, our ICT are readily available in sharing their contacts. Aquila, Kamau are readily available to support you even as you actually work out this. So it's our hope that you'll be well guided and we'll still available to support you for this. So we want to say that even as you continue interacting with this content in your self-paced online learning sessions, we want to remind you that governance serves as the key pillar of effective school leadership and management. When we refer back to the dimensions, you realize that when we are there to legal and policy frameworks, actively engage the leadership of our schools, then of course you ensure that of course you have activated teams for each of the dimensions, then we are able to really implement high PQA in our schools. And through that, of course, we can achieve greater heights of transparency, greater heights of accountability, and sustained improvement. So our clarion call, even as we wind up our session today, is actually to request that you remain committed, and of course, you be actually the champion and front runner, even as we ensure that, of course, these dimensions are well executed. The strategies that we just discussed are executed at the level of the school leadership. So thank you very much for finding time for this session. I want just to announce that we shall be having a rejoinder session in the next 15 minutes. Kindly keep time, because after that we will still join another team for the closing ceremony. We will be officially now winding up on our course through the last session, which will be a closing ceremony for all the 4 counties that are training today and yesterday. And I'm glad to inform you that the CEO Kemi and the leadership of VVOB will be joining us for this particular session. So we will be giving you a link to join the other team. So that link will be shared in our county WhatsApp wall by our ICT. At the appropriate time, after we wind up on the next session, we will be able to invite you to join the other team via that link. And then, of course, we join them for the closing ceremony. Otherwise, we take a short break and join back the class at 11, 11:15. Thank you very much. Asanteni sana.
I want to welcome you back to this session on reflective journey. Now we are going to deliberate on how we are supposed to have reflected, and mostly on our artifacts. So those who are present, kindly reach out to your colleagues. Because we are 18 of you. Reach out to your colleague and tell them that the session is on. So we are going to discuss about the issues to do with reflective journey. And as we said earlier, when we talk about the reflective journal, we are talking about how you are supposed to organize your thoughts, and how you are supposed to record them, and how they are supposed to be recorded in a manner to show that your professional growth. And I can remember last time when you were discussing, during the first time we met, we gave you the structure of how you should do your reflective journal, and even the same, and how it apply even in our artifact building a portfolio, because we should also reflect on our artifacts. So in our case, you will be assessed based on your reflections, and your reflection should clearly bring out the learning that have taken place, also the experiences that you are going through in your institution as a part of learning throughout this course. So that will be an aspect that will be very careful when we'll be assessing you. You want to see whether there is any learning that took place. By reading your reflection, you can be able to tell whether the learning took place or not. Also, you can be able to find out the experiences that you are going through in your institution. So that is briefly what you'll consider in your journal entries. Now, this is the guidelines on how to write your reflective journal. Whereby you're supposed to have to write them in prose. And here we are discouraging writing them in bullet. When you write them in prose, they will be the flow of thought will come out clearly. But when you write them in form of bullets, like you are going to break down the flow of thoughts. So, and in this case, you are limited to only 250 words when you are describing your learning journey. and you are encouraged to use practical situation in order to demonstrate the acquisition of knowledge and skill. That is, we are discouraging use of theoretical or fiction when you are bringing out your reflective journal. In this case, I'm saying don't go to AI and generate thoughts that are not yours. Because I have seen even in our previous training, anytime you are told to write a reflective journal, you go direct to the AI and even you do not edit, you just post anything that comes from the AI. I can be able to tell from the face value, anything from the AI and something you have written from your thoughts. So avoid going to the AI, use practical situation in your institution. The experiences you are going through in your school. That is what we are encouraging. And at this point, I would like to, before we proceed, I would like to hear from you the experience that you have gone through in your when you are writing your reflective journal. Some of the experiences you have gone through. Yesterday we talked about the e-portfolio, but today we want to discuss about the reflective journal. You unmute and then you can tell us what is your experience when it comes to writing the reflective journal. So you are free to unmute. You have been writing reflective journal, and I believe you are able to unmute yourself. Yes, you are able to unmute yourself. So kindly unmute and give your insight concerning how you have been writing your reflective journal. Or what challenges you are likely to experience. Because there's something you are supposed to have started from day one. It's not something you are going to wait until the end of the course. Because we are calling it a personal learning journey from day one up to the time you end the session. Now the floor is open. Emmanuel.
Well, my learning journey from the time we got an invitation through the phone, I remember I was called on the phone, asked a number of details about myself and the school. And then there was this invitation to attend the physical class at Meru. I don't remember the name of that facility. Okay,
The hotel.
Yes, the hotel.
It's or is it called what?
Yes, it's Meru Slopes. Yes, a Slopes Hotel. Well, at the beginning, of course, I didn't know exactly what this all was about, and was anxious, of course, to meet with the facilitators. And on the very first day I was punctual. I remember I wasn't late, and it was one at the beginning because we picked on very well the activity of the very first day. It was on our weekend, I remember, and a number of us were traveling for a conference, the school ends conference. I skipped it going there because, of course, choose this one because this activity has other advantages, personal advantages, because of course learning is more important if according to me. I viewed this one as a better option than going for the HOI conference. And during the 3 days that we spent at Meru Slopes Hotel, it was wonderful. The learning was, of course, very refreshing. Remembering that when someone is away from books for sometimes, you tend to run away from the facts or the issues that matter, of course, in our profession. And as such, I liked it. I liked it. The facilities were welcoming. The participants were. Yes,
Now,
please.
then, if you have to put that all that in writing,
yes,
I want to hear from you. How can you restructure that? The whole experience, how can you restructure it in terms of a reflective journal?
Oh,
Yeah, that is what the question I'm asking, because that is what we expect you to put in your journal entry. How are you going to restructure it?
I will say that the learning journey has been very involving and as very educative, and I have personally liked it, and I've acquired a lot of knowledge throughout.
And if I may ask, and this one go to the whole plenary, which is the first? It is not only to you. I'm putting this question to all the other members. In a reflective journal, which is the first part should you talk about? It may not be many. I want to now to open the floor to the other members.
Okay, members, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, thank you for the guidelines. I think we are discussing about this reflective journal and how it can be written. In my view, I see that for a good reflective journal, I should begin by describing who I am and probably the county that I come from, like Nandi. Then from there, I give an overview of how I joined this training, the face-to-face training that we held in Kapsabet, a hotel called Alliance Hotel. Then from there, I give my experience through the self-learning process all through, and give the challenges and the good things that I managed to learn. And of course, how it has assisted me as a school leader in my school to cope with some of the challenges that I used to face. But now that I have gone through this training, I should be able to say how it has helped me to manage some of those other issues in my school. I think that's briefly how I can give that channel. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abros. And that's why I opened this for plenary for all of us so that we share idea. Before I comment on what Abros have said, let me come to Masai.
Hello.
Yes, go on.
I'm sorry, today I've had a lot of challenges.
Okay.
Which is not network, but it's like a technical part of it.
But
I've
now
been
you are in.
On, off, yeah. Like when I want to suggest something on message, it switches off completely my phone. When I try to join in again, it does not allow me until right now. I've had a lot of problems.
But now we can hear you. So briefly tell
yeah,
us.
but I've not settled. I'm just seeing only the screen on writing your story.
Yes,
So
that is what we are discussing how you are going to write your story at the reflective journal. I wanted to hear from you. How are you going to
allow me
structure your story?
to do some reflection, and then I'll come back later.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
And thank you for airing your challenges. I want to hear from another person. How are you going to write our story? Or are you going to write only 3 sentences to me? And you can see you have even given the limit. Describe your personal learning journey, highlighting your key insights, 251. Describe practical situation where you applied the knowledge, 251. And I say this thing you should have, you are supposed to have documented from day one, then you consolidate them. Who else? No, it is. I don't believe it is the only Abros who have an idea what a reflective journal is. Can I hear from somebody else?
Hello?
Yes, Teresia.
Okay, for me, a reflective journal is basically my reflection about the course, how I have been able to navigate it, what I have gained, what I did not get, what I feel I did not get as I should have, and how I have been able to pick at least one thing that I have learned in that course and put it into my situation as a school head. And so I believe that for me, the reflective journal, I would begin with where I was at a point of a junior school head. Okay, that's the responsibility of leading a junior school, but also remember, nobody had ever called us and told us this is what you're supposed to do, because we see retooling for teachers for certain subjects, but there's been no retooling for heads. So even when we go for those training sessions as heads, it's only about curriculum implementation for me. So I would begin with at that point where you're not able even to make some decisions because you don't know whether it is your responsibility. And up to this point, although I cannot claim that that everything that has been taught in the course I have been able to apply it to my situation, but at least I know there is one or two things that I've been able to pick, and I have actually applied them in my school. That's what I can say.
Thank you very much, Madam Teresia. Now we are going to consider the two, the one that was done by Abros, and now we have Teresia. The two insights are almost the same, and they fall under the same. If you are going to write your story like that, it will be a very interesting story. If you look at the way you have structured it, Abros saying he is going first to describe himself, then he is going to give his own experience, and I believe I want to relate to what Teresia have said. Teresia say Abros will give his own experience, but Teresia will start by giving her experience before joining the course, when she could not even make a decision. And then he'll come and explain what she learned during the course and what she would have liked to learn, but she did not learn. That is very critical, because that now will help us to know the gaps. When you tell us what you learned and what you are looking forward to learn and you did not learn, that is very critical. It will help us going forward, even to improve our course. Then there's something I have liked about Cecia, that it is not everything she has been able to implement, but she's going to note what she has been able to pick and apply. And that is what Abros said. When he said he are going to talk about something he applied so that he can be able to cope up with the challenges that he was facing before. That is the application aspect. So both of them are aligning to the fact that a reflective journal should begin. Even Imeni, when he was telling us the way he was called, he was told to attend a training at Meru, he did not have an idea of what was supposed to be done. That is an experience before. And I know Imeni was excited. Then he came and learned. He picked something. He has implemented that thing in school, as he had been able to solve a problem. And also I want to hear, going forward, what are you going to do to sustain what you learned? That is very important. Application is one thing, but what about the sustainability? Because we are going to close the training, but going forward, how are you going to ensure sustainability? If it is a problem you have been facing in your school on feeding program, How are you going to ensure that after you have learned, you are going to sustain your feeding program, maybe by coming up with an income generating activity like farming? That is the aspect of sustainability. Because if you get a donor, the help from a donor will not last, but the donor would like to side out your sustainability aspect. So that is very important. So it is important to tell us, where were you before the training, what you learned, and in this case, if like Teresia said, what were you looking for to learn and you did not learn? That is another thing. Then tell us, what did you pick and you are able to apply in your school? You may not have applied everything. And going forward, how are you going to ensure that you sustain that knowledge in your school to ensure that you are able to solve most of the problem that we are facing? Your story will tell us whether you are able to gain skill and knowledge. And I believe now, even those who are not aware of how to write their story, now they are aware. From the two experiences from Abros and Tresia, you are able to tell your own story. But I will encourage you, start by telling us where were you before joining the course? What you could not do, but now you are able to do it. That one will help us to know that all the skills that you have passed to you, you are able to apply them in your institution. And then it is the same way we talk about when you are reflecting your artifact. You describe the artifact, tell us how you are feeling when you are engaged in that experience. Tell us what you learned from that experience and tell us how you are going to apply knowledge and what you are going to do it going forward. So that is very important. So thank you very much for those insights on reflective journal. And I'm encouraging all of you to follow that path of Abros and Teresia, and you can even perfect it better so that we'll have a good stories that we can tell, which will be evidence of the skills that have been gained. Is there anybody with a So if there is no question or comment, remember at this juncture, we are now going to go to our last session, that is the closing ceremony, whereby we are going to migrate to there. I believe there will be a link that will be provided. All of us, we are going to join using another link for a closing. Hilary, your mic is on. Mother, before we end this session, Hilary, your mic is on. So Hilary, we cannot get you. So if there is no other comment, I would request now we join the other session, the crucial session ceremony. Thank you very much and see you there.
Thank you, Bwana Karimi.
Karibu.
Thank you.
Please check the link on your WhatsApp group. For Nandi, I've sent exit this one and join. Meru. Please go to your WhatsApp groups and join the updated link kindly.